Okay. Should you talk to men and women differently, right? So I think the crux of the issue, right, really is that people do talk to men and women differently, right? At least I know it's actually absolutely true. I think um like first of all, people are more comfortable talking to people of the same gender as them, right? That's just the way it is, right? And this like, and you might be saying like, no, that's just like a high school thing, it's hormones and everyone's just trying to get laid. No, it's absolutely true, right? Like, if you like go to a workplace, right? I overheard one of my teachers talking about this one time. Like, at my school, the male teachers just get along better with the female teachers, and whenever they need help, they always go to like male teachers, right? So there's that, right? And I mean, the reality of the situation is that it's just different, right? Men and women aren't the same, right? And this goes beyond like a biological thing, right? It's a social thing. Like you guys have different lived experiences, right? And that's the important part, the lived experiences, right? Like the crux of the issue are those lived experiences, and the reason why you would talk to them differently also boils down to those lived experiences, right? Like, what do you call it? Like whenever I bring this conversation up with my friends, right, and this is a conversation we've had multiple times, right, it'll always come down to men and women have different lived experiences, and thus you talk to them differently, right? And I agree with that, right? Men and women are not the same. We have different lived experiences, sure, but I don't think that means that's enough to talk to them differently, right? The example I always bring up is, let's say you have like you have two friends, right? One white friend and a black friend, right? Um, would you talk to the two of them differently? Let's say you're white, right? Would you talk to the black friend differently just because he's had a different lived experience as you, right? And let's say you're white, would you talk to so let's say you're black, would you talk to the white friend differently because he's had a different lived experience than you, right? Because fundamentally speaking, your race is as important to your lived experience as your gender, right, or your sex. So that also brings up the question: should you talk to um, people? Should you talk to like people that are non-binary differently? Because they've also had a different lived experience than you, right? And should you talk to someone that's intersex differently because they've also had a different lived experience than you, and so on and so forth, right? And I think the whole thing is prone to a slippery slope, but like fundamentally, I think that no, like it's like talking to someone isn't like I don't see the connection between talking to someone and their lived experience, right? Like how different of a lived experience do you have to have? Like I understand if it's like an age thing, right? Like a respect thing, but like why would I respect someone more or less just because they've had a different lived experience, right? And the same way I would talk to somebody if they're older, right? Well, I mean, we have two different people of the same age, right? And I would talk to someone differently um, if they're my superior, right? But I don't think men and women are comparable, right? Because they're two sides of the same coin, right? You're both human, and that's what matters, right? So there's that, right? So I don't know. I don't really see this lived experience argument because it's true. Men and women have different lived experiences, but I don't see how that is enough to talk to them differently, right? And then their second argument is like you wouldn't make a dick joke, um, or you wouldn't like okay, like uh I know I have friends, right, that make jokes about like raping people, right? They're like, if you like if you say you're gonna hop on at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and then you text back at 11:20, being like, "My bad, bro," he might be like, "I'm gonna rape you," right? And you might be saying that's not something you would say to a female friend of yours, right? But I don't think that's necessarily true either, right? Because I don't think that's about sex, right, necessarily. Because I feel like if you had a female friend that you knew, because obviously the implication behind the statement "I'm gonna rape you" in a friendly manner is that you're not actually gonna rape the person, right? It's a jokingly, right? And should you joke about that? Probably not. No, but I mean it is what it is, right? Like you're not gonna control how someone else talks, right? Anyways, the point is, um, like that joke doesn't hinge on guy being male. That joke hinges on how close you guys are, right? Like I feel like if you had a really close female friend and a guy friend that you're not that close with, let's say you're a guy, right? And you said to the close female friend, I'm gonna rape you, they would be fine with that, right? More fine with that than a guy friend that you don't know as well, right? So I don't really see that argument, right? Like you can think of 100 examples where you'd be like, oh, I would say this to a girl and not like I don't know, like I know some people would talk about um like you wouldn't talk about like a lot of people don't talk about like relationships or whatever with their guy friends, right? Outside of just like, oh, I got laid last night, right? Or whatever, right? And a lot of people are open to, I guess, having that conversation with female friends, right? And I don't really see that to that extent either. I know it's a thing that people do, right? Like I have had friends that have known like their female friends for like 2 months and have known me for 2 years, and this guy won't tell me about some girl that he has a crush on, and he's more than happy to tell her, right? This is like a true story, lived experience, by the way, okay? And I think, like, we can all agree that's pretty stupid, right? But I mean, people just have a natural tendency to gravitate towards talking about certain things with certain people, right? But why is that, right? And should we do that? The key point is should we, right? The fact that you do it, like, people do things like clutch their purse when a black guy enters the elevator, right? It's a thing that happens, right? But should you do it is the question, right? Like, if you see, like, let's say it's 10 p.m., or, sorry, it's like 2 a.m., and you see like a big black guy walking behind you on the street, right? A lot of people, right, especially like women, because like obviously they have higher chance of getting like molested, right? Will like cross the other side or walk faster, right, or whatever, or take 4 right turns, right? Um, I think in that like, it's a thing that people do, right? Undoubtedly so, and there's a reason behind that thing, right? Like you just might have a distorted view of men and women. And like because I know, especially like at our age, people have like distorted views on like gender and like it's like basically at our school, it's like you're only friends with a girl to get laid, right? Like that's just the way it is, right? And but like should that bias exist in the first place is the question, right? Just like yeah, the fact that people cross the street when there's a big black guy walking behind them, it's a thing that happens, right? But should it happen? No, because it's obviously racist, and like because if it was a big white guy, you wouldn't be crossing the street, right? Like that's the difference. Um, and if you say that's not the point, then I'm not talking about that. That's not the point I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about if you cross the street just because it's a big black guy and not a big white guy, right? Um, like that obviously is a racial bias and you're racist, right? And you probably should not have that predisposition. But it's one that exists, right? And why does it exist? Because of media, because of very deep-rooted racism in America, right? But I mean, that's just the way it is, right? Just how puberty really roots something in you that makes it so men and women just aren't the same in your eyes, right? And I mean, like again, there's a difference, right? There's like the difference between the big black guy walking behind you is that he's black, right? And the difference between um, you talking to a man and a woman differently is they're a woman, right? But I just don't see this. I just don't think like this. I guess this tendency should exist in the first place, right? I think it's weird. It's like, can we not treat men and women differently? Like, are we still at the point where we have to talk to a girl differently? And like, this is beyond getting laid, right? Like, if you want to get laid, you're obviously gonna talk to someone differently than you talk to like your friend, right? But like, this is beyond getting laid, right? Like, these are guys. This is just a guy. That's like this is like just his friend, right? Um, and he doesn't want to hit, and he's still talking to her differently, right? And I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm of the opinion that this whole thing is really stupid, and like, there's really the only difference between a man and a woman is that they have a cock and the vagina at the end of the day, right? But like, sure, yeah, like a man and woman will, growing up, right, or through life, will experience different things, right? Um, should they? No. Like, I feel like there are biological differences, sure, right? Like, but like in a lot of ways that we treat men and women differently, right? Like, if you see a lot of guys won't let their sons play with Barbies, and a lot of like yeah, a lot of girls won't get introduced to cars, right? Like that's just the way it is, right? I'm talking about that stuff. That stuff shouldn't exist. Okay, I think that stuff's dumb. And like those are the experiences I'm talking about, right? But yeah, I don't know. I just think like this whole thing of like talking to different, like I don't know. I just there's no okay. There's also the thing of like I think it's a deep like I know a lot of friends that will like uh okay wait one I have this really weird friend who is like really like he's like really creepy around women. Okay, he's always talking about like getting stepped on and shit, and it's like really kinky. Okay, and like that's the type of joke, right? You make I get it. You make different jokes with your people because you're like you're I guess like if you're not 100% confident in your sexuality, right? And like you don't want to come off as like being gay, joking about like getting stepped on, with your male friend, right? But it's fine if you're a female friend because it's like what you see as like normal or okay, right? Because like it's not homosexual, then sure, right? Um, there's also that, right? But I think that's stupid. Like I think yeah, it's just like about what you can joke about at the end of the day, right? But I think that's not a them problem. That like they're a man or a woman. It's a problem. It's a you problem because you're not comfortable with like your sexuality wholly to the point where you can joke about like getting stepped on or like mommy ASMR with your guy best friend, right? Um, there's that, okay. But there's also like I think a lot of it is just like okay, I have a friend that outright said this, right? But he just thinks that like girls are more sensitive, okay? And this is a crazy, absolutely crazy take, okay? I don't care if 51% of women are more sensitive, right? Or no, okay. Yeah, if 51 if on average women are 1% more sensitive than men, right? I don't care, right? Sure, you can say it's a statistical fact that women tend to be more sensitive, but does that mean you should, as a blanket, treat all women as they're more sensitive, right? I think it's dumb, right? Just like how I like statistically, uh, like in America, black people do like commit a large, an unproportional amount of violent crimes, right? But that doesn't mean that it's something about black people, right? Because it's like systematic racism and everything, right? Like it exists in America. Um, like there's that, right? And also it's just uh, like deep rooted racism within the system, whatever. I think I already said that. Um, but even if this fact was to be true, also I don't think like maybe something about women's biology makes them inherently more sensitive, right? But also I think women are like raised to be more sensitive anyways, right? I think you can raise a sensitive guy, right, very easily, and you can raise a rough, stoic girl, right, very easily, but people just don't do it, right? Because we play into the like this maybe theoretical, maybe real, biological tendency, right? But like also, I don't know. Like for me, like even if 51% of, or even if on average women are 1% more sensitive, I just think it's dumb to as a blanket treat it so all women are more sensitive, right? So I don't really like sugarcoat my words around women. Right? I call it how it is, right? And I think most people will even subconsciously or consciously. I think most people will talk to women differently, right? Or talk to like whatever talk to a member of the opposite sex differently, right? And I just think like it's so like deep rooted within us, especially like for teenagers, right? Because there's like you have like this is just like the I guess the philosophical implications of it, right? With teenagers, you have to factor in hormones, right? And the fact that like the guys are trying to get laid like 99% of the time, right? That's obviously gross, hyperbole, but whatever. Right? So I mean, the point is that I don't know. I just think it's really dumb. Like, like a lot of women will be surprised that you talk to them like the same as you talk to a man, right? So I think that also plays into it. Like it's like the expectation, right? But I don't know. I just think this whole like social construct that we have, or whatever this is, right, is really stupid, and it should go away, right? Because I don't really think, at the end of the day, like being a man or a woman doesn't really change who you are, right? And who you are should be. Actually, no, I don't think you should talk to anyone differently because of such a. I don't know, like, you can definitely talk to different people differently, right? I'm not saying that. Like, if you have a friend that thinks, like, certain things are funny and certain things are not funny, then you'd obviously say the funny things, right? And avoid the unfunny things, right? I'm not saying you shouldn't talk to anybody differently at all, but I think it's dumb to blanket all women under one category and assume that all women are the same, right? So, I think first impressions, you should always talk to someone the same way, right? I don't think you should like mince your words or sugarcoat it just because they're a woman and just because you think it's more sensitive, right? Like, we're not in Victorian fucking England. It's 21st century America, right? Like, let's get the program, guys. Okay, and like if you sugarcoat your words, like, let's call it what it is. You're saying that, like, they're too sensitive and you're underestimating them, right? You're looking down on them, and I just think it's stupid, right? But I mean, yeah, I mean, I just think it boils down to that. Like, you're you're looking down on someone for being a woman, and you think that woman can't take the same amount of, I guess, the same conversation as a man, right? I mean, that's what you're saying, and I think the attitude needs to go. Okay, I think we should normalize treating men and women the same under speech. Yeah, that's that for today. Why you should talk to women the same way you talk to men, right? Or I think you should talk to women the same way you talk to men. So, I already finished my game, so there's no point for drawing this out. Subscribe, guys. Good night.